More than 600 children have been abused by priests since the 1930s. The Archbishop of Melbourne gave those figures in a statement to a parliamentary inquiry. He did describe it as horrific and shameful, but campaigners say the real number of victims could be as much as 10,000. Allegations of the Catholic Church's cover-up of child sex abuse by priests have caused deep concern. There was scandal in Belgium when it was revealed the former head of the church advised a victim not to go public with his abuse. Around 300 victims in that one. Ireland, you can see there, two major reports uncovered the shocking extent of abuse and cover-ups involving thousands of victims. In one report, 4 Dublin archbishops were found to have effectively turned a blind eye to cases of abuse for almost 30 years. And there was outrage in the United States in the 1990s, when 2 church officials were accused of trying to cover up abuse by 2 priests in Boston by moving them from post to post. We are going to focus obviously on what's happening in Australia right now, and we've got Chrissy Foster joining us on the broadband, a campaigner against child abuse from Melbourne. Thank you so much for your time today. We'll move to the issue of how big this could be, the 10,000 in a moment, but let's deal with the 600 that the church has actually said. For you, is that something at least, that they have at least admitted that?
Yes, that is something. With a lot of silence from the church up until now. So yes, that is something that's a positive.
But it took a parliamentary inquiry for that to come out. This presumably wouldn't have been forthcoming otherwise.
Well, that's correct. The church has got a new program that they've called Facing the Truth. But it was a parliamentary inquiry which has forced them to tell the truth after all these years.
You come up to a figure of 10,000, which some people say it could be as bad as that. I mean, that's an enormous leap from 600 to 10,000. How do campaigners such as yourself come up with that sort of number?
Well, given the number of offenders in this state of Victoria, we're looking at about 118, and that's just Victoria. It's not the rest of Australia. They have similar numbers. And given the fact that each pedophile can have up to, 110, 117 victims, then that's where the figure comes from. And some of these pedophiles, one in particular, Father Gerard Ridsdale, he admitted to his family after he was arrested that he had hundreds of victims, and the offender for our children, he was very similar. He was sexually assaulting, raping children for 50 years. So we're talking about a lot of children. All these priests were having access to primary schools or secondary schools. Each school has 300, 400, 200 children there, and they are in charge of the parishes, and they just take children out of the class. So
this inquiry was just the Victorian state government, am I right in saying that?
Yes, that's correct. Victoria is the first to have an inquiry like this. New South Wales is also trying to get a royal commission, but we're the first with one here.
Okay, I don't wish to be crass here. I know this is obviously a very sensitive topic for you, but I do want to ask you about your own experience here, your own children, and I guess what something like this brings for you. An admission from the church, but obviously a need to go further.
Well, they do. This is entirely too late for our family. Our 2 of our 3 daughters have been sexually assaulted for some years when they were at primary school, very young children, and it just ruins their life. It's just mind-altering and affects the way they live. And one of our daughters, our eldest daughter Emma, she died in 2008. She was 26 years of age, and she took her own life. And she had a dreadful life up until then. She suffered greatly with the effects of this abuse. Our second daughter, Katie, she took to drinking, and she was hit by a car when she was drunk. So she was in hospital for a year, and she still requires 24-hour care, and that was 13 years ago. So it's horrendous effects, and getting this inquiry will not help us. But I speak out so that other children do not have to suffer what my children have suffered. This is a crime. It should not happen at all. the church has been covering this up for decades, centuries. They have had all this time to fix it and they haven't. And they're talking about 620 children that have been have had payments made out to them. They're the ones that the church has accepted that the abuse has happened, and it's over an 80-year span. So why didn't they do something about it years ago, and yet saying now they've come to the truth? I mean, they were saying yesterday in the paper that they thought the offenders, when they said they would not do this again, would not repeat the sexual assault of the child, they believed them. But, I mean, the thing is, it's a crime. It wasn't up to them to decide if the offender would do it again or not.